vacation.
All right, I have 6:30, so let's call to order the Wednesday, December 9th, 2020 meeting of the Cherry Hills Village City Council. Could we have a roll call of members, please, Laura?
Councillor Safavi?
Here.
Councillor Wheel?
Glad to be here.
Councillor Brown?
Here.
Councillor Gallagher?
Here.
Councillor Sheldon?
Here.
Councillor Blum?
Here. Great, hear you all. I understand we have no one.
Here.
Someone's barking. There we go. I understand we have no one signed up for audience participation and nobody from the city, from boards, commissions, and committees. So we'll move to agenda item 5. Does anyone wish to withdraw any items from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to remove items 5B, 5C, and 5D. So therefore, I move to approve consent agenda item 5A.
Second.
Motion and second. We need a roll call because of this is Zoom. Laura?
Councillor Safavi?
Yes.
Councillor Wheel?
Yes.
Councillor Brown?
Yes.
Councillor Gallagher?
Yes.
Councillor Sheldon?
Should it be reflected, Laura, that we are approving updated minutes that were not in the packet, but yet were sent out supplementally?
They were on the online packet. They weren't in council packet. So if you'd like to do that, you can.
I'd just like to note for the record that we're approving a set of minutes that were revised from the packets that were delivered to our homes.
Okay.
With that, yes, I am in favor of approving 5A.
And Councillor Blum?
Yes. Okay, that passes. 5A passes. Councillor Brown, you have the floor.
Sure. So for 5B and C, I think, maybe can be considered together. I just felt like I don't necessarily have any issues with anything that's presented, but I felt like it's been over a year since we have addressed this as a council. And there have been some concerns, not maybe directly, but sort of indirectly around signage on trails in the village over the last year. And so I felt like this warranted discussion rather than just approval on the consent agenda.
Okay.
And I think specifically, I'd like to hear from staff what's a little bit more information about what's happened in the last year and what presentations and approvals have taken place. And then also like to talk a little bit more about the placement of the signs, make sure I'm clear on that. The drawing is very small in here. And so I just want to make sure I'm clear on what's being proposed and the associated costs, how those costs compare to what we looked at back in October of 2019, et cetera.
Great. Ms. Black, then you have the floor.
Yes, good evening, Council. So I put together a PowerPoint. Hopefully this is showing on all of your screens for the Highland Canal wayfinding signs to go through a little bit of that background and timeline, because as Mayor Pro Tem stated, it's been about a year since Council considered these signs. Okay. So the process for these signs actually came out of the plan for the Highline Canal, which is currently the governing document for the Highline that all of the jurisdictions, Denver Water and the Conservancy have signed on to. So the very initial public open houses for that plan, which included this signage, were held back in April 2018. And then another round of public input was gathered in January 2019. So that's where the bulk of the public input was gathered from with respect to these signs, the designs, how frequent they should be, what the feel should be along the canal, and that type of thing. So PTRC recommended the council endorse the plan with the signs included back in October of 2019. And then council approved a resolution endorsing the plan the following month in November. And at that point, there was an initial discussion about the budget for the signs and what we were anticipating. So through the planning process, the plan was for the jurisdictions to pay for 50% of the sign within their jurisdiction, and the Conservancy to foot the other half of the bill. Arapahoe County graciously stepped forward and offered to be the funding match for the jurisdictions within the county. So for us, Greenwood and South Suburban, Arapahoe County is providing that 50% match. And the initial number that we discussed at that council meeting that was then included in the 2020 budget was for the city to be responsible for $36,500. Thankfully, we used a high estimate. Thankfully, it came in well below that. But that's the number that was discussed at that meeting. So moving forward specifically with the signing package, separate from the plan, the next step was for PTRC to review that specific signing package. So they did that back in March 2020 and recommended that council participate in the signing project at that point, as the project was anticipated to go out to bid. That PTRC meeting was the last in-person meeting we had before COVID really hit and we were locked down. So that bid process with the Conservancy and all the jurisdictions was a little bit delayed. It did not, the initial plan was for council to consider this after it went out to bid and really consider it in May. And we've fallen a little bit behind on our timeline with everything else going on. So the Conservancy bid the project out in May of this year, and the contract was awarded to AdCon in June. Through this process then, the original plan had been for Arapahoe County to provide the matching funds for the 3 jurisdictions directly to the Conservancy. And as they worked through their process, they realized that what the county would have to do with their funding is grant it directly to each jurisdiction. So that process got altered a little bit from the initial way that we had planned it. So Arapahoe County went through their process, OSTAB made recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, and ultimately the county approved that funding would be granted directly to us rather than the Conservancy. And that was just approved at the end of October. Oh, and my computer is going to lag right now. Okay, hopefully the sign locations will come up for all of you. Yeah, okay. I won't go very much in detail with each sign location. Suffice to say that we took the public input that we've been hearing too recently, and the signs that are planned for our jurisdiction in particular are sensitive to the fact that we're trying to balance the need for people to be able to know, to orient themselves on the trail and be safe on the trail, to know the rules, to know who to call if something happens, to know how to pass safely, that type of thing, with the fact that we don't want an intrusive signing package. So ours is really the smallest, both because we're small and because we have probably the most scaled back signs of any jurisdiction. So we have placemaking bollards at road crossings at Quincy and at Colorado that alert trail users what road they're crossing, and also alert drivers that they are crossing the Highline Canal. We have our wayfinding kiosks at South Dahlia parking lot and at Three Pond, since those are our main trailheads to orient users and show them really where they are, provide the most information of any signs that we have. There are street signs at major arterials, so we have street signs at Hamden and Bellevue. And then coyote kiosks, we have 3 of, and this is something that we should thank Suzanne Moore from Greenwood Village, because she realized and called to our attention that the limited signs that we do have, if they come down, which they will as part of this process, we won't have any coyote related information up. So these are a special sign that is unique to Greenwood Village and Cherry Hills Village, just alerting people to possible coyote activity and what to do and how to stay. Okay. So I won't go through this whole slide. I gave most of this background already, but suffice to say, the city is responsible for $19,308 going towards the signs, and the remaining portion is going to be funded by the grant from Arapahoe County and with additional money from the Highline Canal Conservancy. So the final sign cost of our totals is $45,186. And the money that we have allocated out of our budget is coming from the Conservation Trust Fund within the small funds parks budget. Does council have any questions that I can answer?
So I have a couple questions. Thank you very much for that background, Emily. The first question I have is, I did go back and look at the packet and the agenda from the October 2019 meeting. And the budget impact does say that we've budgeted $36,500 in 2020, but I can't find anything that explains why. What was that number based on?
So all of the numbers should be in the full plan for the Highline Canal. That document's like a 400-page document. Okay. The Conservancy had a high estimate and a low estimate from, I believe it was from Art House, from the designer of the signs, about what the fabrication cost would be. And there were a lot of unknowns there because we were still back and forth about the specific materials that were going to be used. So we opted to go with the high estimate just to be safe, to not have to go back and possibly do a supplemental appropriation. But it was based on these estimates from Art House.
Okay. And then was that must have also been based on an estimated number of signs and a projected placement? I feel like that rings a bell. But it wasn't in the packet, probably because it's in the full 400-page document.
Yes.
Okay. Has what was proposed in October changed much to what's being proposed now?
The only sign changes that we made were those coyote signs.
Okay.
So that was the biggest change, that we didn't have those coyote signs. We didn't have estimates or anything like that. They're closest to the rules signs in the original packet, but we didn't have that sign type in the original one. But besides adding the coyote signs, there have not been any changes.
Okay. So it sounds like the staff did have an opportunity to at least review the proposed placement and make any suggestions. So the proposed placement is coming from within Cherry Hills Village and not just being dictated by somebody else, correct?
Right. So we, there are sort of, I don't know, there are guidelines for each sign type where you would want to use one. So for the smaller road crossings, this one, for the major arterials, the street sign. So those are really the guidelines, but then the Conservancy worked with each jurisdiction to determine placement and even to determine specific placement. Josh Phillips came out a couple weeks ago and met with Jeff Roberts, our Parks Operations Supervisor, to do the on the ground, this is the initial GPS location that we're thinking for the sign, with the caveat that when you get out there and it's time for installation, it might have to shift a little bit one way or the other. But the Conservancy has done a great job with really working closely with each of the jurisdictions to locate these signs based on what works for that community, what works for that trailhead, what works for Three Pond specifically.
Okay, and then when PTRC considered this back in the spring, what specifically were they presented that they recommended? Obviously it wasn't a specific price because that didn't come till later. So
right. So they saw the map that you're all seeing now and the specific sign types with the shop drawings, which are also in your packets. We didn't have the numbers then, and then we didn't have the Coyote kiosk mock-up. But Harriet came to the August PTRC meeting and gave a signing update and also a mile marker update, which is a separate project to PTRC. So they've had a more detailed update at that August meeting. And I've also given them updates at the October and their last meeting in November, and let them know that this was coming to council tonight as well.
okay. And then I guess my final questions are around the maintenance and I guess or moving or removing a sign. So I understand that they'll fix it if it's broken, but if it's beyond repair, the burden to replace it is on us. The cost to replace it is on us. I'm just looking into the future. I don't think this will be a problem in Cherry Hills Village, but imagine that there's a sign that becomes a constant victim of vandalism, or, people are constantly hitting it with cars or whatever. Are we required to maintain these in their current location? Do we have control over moving them or deciding that they're actually too disruptive and removing them at some point in the future?
We have discussed the ongoing maintenance question, and I think it is something that's going to be flexible with the Conservancy. When we were discussing the maintenance and replacement piece, a lot of attention was paid to a couple things, to making sure that the maintenance of the signs is not burdensome. So making sure that they're easy to mow around, making sure that graffiti is easy to be removed, relatively. And there's nothing in the agreement that binds us to keeping a sign in a specific location. And I think that the Conservancy would certainly be amenable to, if we need to shift a sign, at Dahlia parking lot or at Three Pond because we've realized it's too close to the parking area, that we would have control over that situation.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Okay, I'll go down the line then. Councilor Blum, questions?
No questions.
Councilor Sheldon?
Couple quick things. First, Katie, thanks for pulling this. I think it was good for us to get a little bit of an update. It's been a little while, so thank you for thinking about that. And Emily, thanks for putting together this slideshow. I think it was helpful for us to see some of these details that we put in place a while back. I, for one, think that the sign package in and of itself is outstanding. I am really thrilled to see this sign package get implemented throughout the entire trail section, not just in the village, obviously, but throughout all the jurisdictions. So I think it'll be outstanding. Emily, I wanted to make one quick, maybe, I don't know if it's a correction or just clarification comment. You mentioned that Arapahoe County is matching funds from the village, Greenwood Village, and South Suburban. Isn't Littleton also in Arapahoe County, or at least a portion of Littleton is in Arapahoe County? I think it's also in Douglas and Jeffco as well, but not that it matters. It makes no difference on the business deal that we struck, the matching funds with the county. But I do think that Littleton also is in that jurisdiction as well, as far as the county. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that section is part of the South Suburban Agreement, but I am not entirely sure.
Or possibly in Douglas County.
Yes.
Okay, my final comment, and I don't want to get off track here at all, but it just occurred to me, we've never, since I've been on council, discussed this. So I'm going to throw it out there now, and I have no idea if it's been discussed, Katie, in your tenure on council, or Russell, even before Katie was on, when you were around. The possibility of whether or not it makes any sense to, and again, digressing, but whether it makes any sense to look at possibly doing an underpass at Quincy for the Highline Canal. I know it's a big concept to get your arms around in a conversation right now that is where it's not on the agenda to talk about that specific thing, but we've done them now on both of our bookends, if you will, east and west sides of the village. I'm sorry, north and south sides of the village. I'm wondering if it might at some point make some sense to put that canal underground underneath Quincy and not have that at-grade crossing. With that, my comments about the sign package are that it looks good, and I'm all in favor of approving this with Mayor Pro Tem Brown's consent, approving this to move forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sheldon. I can just quickly say, in my tenure on the city, I've never heard of an underpass at Quincy. That's the first I've heard of it. So
Ditto. I would say that I've never heard a discussion about that either.
I don't know that it's warranted. I don't know if there's ever been a problem. You know, Chief Tovray may be able to chime in on that, but it just, we're seeing them on our bigger, state highways. And obviously they're big, expensive projects. Obviously there's matching, or there's grant monies and funds that are coming from different jurisdictions. We'd be on our own there with Arapahoe County, I think. Maybe the Highline Canal Conservancy, if they could come up with any money. We'd probably be on our own there, as opposed to being a small portion of a much bigger number on our periphery.
Oh, you just muted, Dan.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, I'm just something to think about, maybe talk about. I don't know, Chief, if you're on, I'd love to hear. Mayor, maybe now's not the time to even delve into this. Maybe it's something for a study session at another time.
Yeah, we can let the chief comment on her in her time too when she gets a report. I think there's actually two places, Dan. There's Cora Boulevard too. I mean, we crossed it twice.
Right.
Yeah, let's let the chief. She can comment on her when she gives us a report about that.
Okay,
great. Time to think about it. Next, Councilor Gallagher.
Emily, a question for you in terms of coordinating with our mileage, our own bridle path mileage. I'm assuming these signs are really directing people to stay on the High Line, and they're not communicating diversions onto our own trail system. Correct?
That's correct. So the maps only show the High Line itself, and we have been really mindful and will be really mindful, even showing nearby landmarks, but they do not show any of the bridle trails branching off into the city.
How will you coordinate? This is going to come up, I'm sure, in PTRC. I hear Fred Wolf talking about, he's got, we've got the city trail and communicating additional signs. I suppose it really doesn't matter. If this is just directing people to the High Line, then we're on our own for our own signs. Next, and final question, and maybe this is a question for Kathy, is if someone gets hurt because of one of these signs, if a bike plows into it and some guy, some person gets good and hurt, who's responsible?
Well, that would likely be determined in some sort of litigation. I believe that, the Conservancy and the county and the city would all be named. And the question would be whether or not it was a dangerous condition, or whether or not immunity applied to begin with.
So it's a real tricky question on governmental immunity and what's what's exempt and what the city can be sued for. But
The city is largely immune. Those kinds of injuries are what they call tort claims, which is some sort of wrong occurred, and except for there's certain conditions by which statutorily that immunity is waived, and one of those is dangerous conditions of a public facility. You know, we've got some case law out there about a branch falling on a tent at a camping campsite, and whether or not that was a dangerous condition. And the question would be really, you know, whether that immunity would apply here. And I don't have any firm answer for you on that. It would likely have to be litigated.
Yeah. So who actually owns the signs? Do we?
Well, my interpretation of this is that it's the Highline Canal, and we're contributing to the funding of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Brown, anything further? And if not, Councillor Wheel. Wheel? You still have it? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, wish I could say that was the first time that ever happened. But anyway, on page 2, it talks about a total of 14 signs planned. And then when you get to the table in Exhibit A and you add it up, you get 15. And I wasn't sure. It's not that it makes a big difference one way or the other, but there's an inconsistency there.
I apologize. That's that extra coyote sign that we added didn't get counted in that initial space.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think they look great. I think they're, and thank you for the presentation, but I think the signs look great. They're nice. I probably should get in the sign business. What these things are costing, but good stuff. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councillor Savabi.
Yeah, I echo what Randy said. The signs look great. And again, I appreciate the discussion. This was very good, very helpful. So no questions from my end.
Good.
Mayor, this is Al. I have one question on the mileage signs. What did they decide to do with those? Because there's such confusion right now between
The mile marker sign.
Pardon me?
The mile marker signs?
Yeah.
The Conservancy has standardized sandstone mile markers that they are entirely funding. The city is not responsible for any of that. So thank you to the Conservancy. And they will be hopefully installing those within the next few months. They came out to do the locates for them a while ago, about 6 weeks ago, again with our staff. And we are lucky enough to have the midpoint of the canal. So one of the things that PTRC worked out with the Conservancy was doing a sort of special red sandstone mile marker for that center of the canal. It's about at Three Pond Park. So we're in the very early stages of talking to the Conservancy about doing some sort of special event where that's the last mile marker that will be placed, and being able to have a celebration hopefully once that goes in, and hopefully we'll be able to gather some people together to do that safely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think all the existing ones come out, Councillor Blum, because they are confusing. Yeah. Just a couple of comments too. This is a 25-year agreement, although it's terminable at will by us. So it's actually a very favorable agreement. So if we ever wanted to get out of it, and actually, as I read it, if we wanted to move them, not that we'd want to, but they are ours. As I understand this too, I think we're buying them, so they're city property. But it's a good agreement in the sense that the Highline Conservancy is on the hook for 25 years to maintain these. If we ever have to be replaced, though, it's right that there's a time and materials kind of fee that they would replace them under this agreement. But this agreement, is flexible to us if we ever decided if the Conservancy is not around, who knows how long they will last or what role they may take. So it's hard to say, but it's well written in that respect in protecting the city. Any other? If there are no more questions about items 5B and C, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 36, Series 2020, approving an intergovernmental agreement regarding contribution of Arapahoe County Open Space Program funds for Highline Canal wayfinding signage.
Second.
Motion a second. Would the clerk call the roll then?
Counselor Safavi,
Yes.
Counselor Wheel,
Yes.
Counselor Brown,
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher.
No.
Counselor
Sorry,
Gallagher,
yes.
Counselor Sheldon,
Yes.
Counselor Blum.
Yes,
Okay, that passes unanimously. I'll entertain a motion then for 5C.
I move to approve the agreement for professional services with the Highline Canal Conservancy for the installation and maintenance of wayfinding signs for the Highline Canal and authorize the expenditure of $38,616. I further move to authorize the city attorney to make such changes as may be needed to correct any non-material errors or language, or to negotiate such changes to the agreement as may be appropriate, and do not substantially increase the obligations of the city, and to authorize the mayor to sign such agreement when in final form.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Laura, could you call the roll?
Counselor Safavi,
Yes.
Counselor Wheel,
Yes.
Counselor Brown,
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher,
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon,
Yes.
Counselor Blum.
yes.
That passes unanimously as well. We'll move on to consent agenda item 5D. Counselor Brown, you have the floor.
So for this one, Randy made the comment he should be in the sign business. I feel like I should be in the construction observation business. This was sort of new to me. And when I read that we're about to spend $26,000 to have somebody watch what somebody else is doing, I just felt like I'd like a little bit more information about what that is and why that's necessary. And I'm sure Jay can completely explain it to me.
Yeah, I think Jay has a couple of items on that, but it sounds like what you're requesting is that we go with our other bid, which is almost twice as much.
Exactly. Like, wow. Okay.
All right, Mr. Goldie, will you take this up? Explain it to us, please.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
So this is a little confusing because normally you wouldn't see this type of oversight as a separate contract. For example, when we built City Hall, the architect and engineering oversight is included in that. We did not include this in the original design for a number of reasons. We knew that this project would not go to bid immediately. We didn't know it would last 16 years. We did start this process in 2008 with the initial assessment and design for these repairs. So that's why you are seeing this in a separate contract. And we used a number of different firms for the initial review and assessment, and then another firm for the design. The firm that did the design is no longer around. It was a one-man operation. He now works for the city of Aurora, so he was not available to bid on this. But this is very normal for utility projects, especially like this, where the oversight is not just watching, what the contractor is doing. It's a very technical oversight to make sure that, as they bring in the materials, they check every lot of the material to make sure it meets the spec, especially the lining material we're using. It's a very specific spec that we have put together. So they'll check each of those, make sure that they're going in properly. They will be viewing the cameras while that's going in. They also will review the final product. They'll sit down and watch the entire 6,700 feet of the video, and then make recommendations if any of that needs to be done again or redone, cut out. They will be there while they're cleaning prior to the installation to make sure everything gets clean. They'll review that video again to make sure that everything has been done properly. They will make sure on a day-to-day basis, they'll come in and check how the contractor has their bypass system set up, the pressures on those systems, making sure nothing is overflowing. So it's a very technical oversight. It's not just, you know, like normally we would do a lot of in-house oversight when we have big projects like this. Like Emily was in charge of the park. I've done the buildings. Ralph does all of the construction in the streets, but this becomes very technical. And long-term utilities like sanitary sewer can have some very big problems with environmental and safety issues. So this is a checks and balances to make sure that the contractor is doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And then we have a licensed engineer that gives us a report and stamps that at the end of this, that, you know, the contractor did what he was supposed to be doing. So then down the road, the liability, we don't just have people pointing fingers that the city said this was good, and we don't have anybody on staff that can oversee that type of technical project. And so, and just for a note on the cost, for example, we did do a project similar to this in 2008 when the country club closed down for a year. We decided to get in there and redo that section of line to save time, money, and effort. It was a little easier because it was a wide open space. There wasn't backyard easements to deal with. The pipe in that area was a little newer, so most of it was just the lining. And in 2008, for a 3,200 foot project, which is a little less than half of this, we paid $11,300 for engineering oversight. And then we had an additional cost because that project was being managed for us by the sanitation district. So the cost is very reasonable for this type of work. It's about 10% of the total design fees and costs. Over the last 16 years, we've had $254,000 in design fees, and it's about 2.2% of the construction cost of this current project that is 1.172 million. Does that answer your questions, or can I answer any other questions?
That answers my question. Thank you very much for that. Like I said, I think Randy's going to start a sign company and I'm going to become a civil engineer.
All right, now go down.
Jay, I had a question. And why Kimley Horn's price was so different than this one? Because you're at less than half for American company.
I don't know if they didn't understand the scope, or if they don't normally do this without doing the design. But in speaking to a number of other companies such as Merrick, that I just don't know why their number was so high. If their costs are that much more and their engineers are making that much more, or if they didn't understand the scope that I discussed with them.
Okay.
Councilor Sheldon,
No comment, Mayor.
Councilor Gallagher,
No comment. Thank you.
Councilor Wheel,
Yeah, Jay, does this help us also? I think there's, in terms of the value of the system, you know, we've had discussions from time to time about maybe we want to consolidate that with some other sewer system. And if it has this, does this add value to it, that it's not only been built by credible people, but it was inspected and conforms and so on?
Yes, I think that would be a good selling point to another district that was looking at this. And if they went through all of our documents and saw that we had these reports from a engineer, that it would be a good good value added to that.
Okay, thanks. I mean, in the event we go down that path, but thank you. That's all I have.
Councilor Savati,
Thank you, Jay, for the explanation. It was clear, so no questions.
I had one quick question, maybe for Kathy. I see the deliverable that America is going to give is simply a documentation of its observations. And I wonder if, because Jay, you mentioned a final report stamped by a PE. So maybe, Kathy, when you're talking to him about this, if that's what we're going to get, I'd like to see that in the contract, that they're going to give us a final stamped by PE. It also doesn't say it's going to be a PE in their proposal. It'd be nice to have a real professional engineer and not somebody who's just from their office to do it. So if that's the intention, maybe we should put.
And we'll
Okay.
clarify that. Yep, and I don't anticipate any issues with that, do you, Jay?
No.
Okay, and we've drafted the proposal at the time packets went out. We were working on some insurance things and some other things. So the motion is set up for us to nail that down without further action by council.
I got to believe that's their intent, so that maybe
Yep.
Yeah.
make it clear. And then Jake, what fund is this coming from too? This is the special fund, right, for council?
Yes, this is from the Water and Sewer Fund. This is the fund that is set up specifically for this.
Yeah.
It's an enterprise fund that is funded by the users of this sanitary sewer.
Very good. Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion on consent agenda item 5D.
I move to approve the professional services agreement with Merrick and Company for construction oversight related to the 2020 sewer line rehabilitation and repair project in the amount of $26,000. I further move to authorize the city attorney to make such changes as may be needed to correct any non-material errors or language, or to negotiate such changes to the agreement as may be appropriate and do not substantially increase the obligations of the city, and to authorize the mayor to sign such agreement when in final form.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Laura, if you could call the roll.
Counselor Sabavi,
Yes.
Counselor Wheel,
Yes.
Counselor Brown,
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher,
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon,
Yes.
Counselor Blum.
Yes.
Okay, that item passes unanimously as well. We're finished with that. We move on to agenda item 7, which is unfinished business, and this is a second and final reading of the 2021 proposed budget. First one is Council Bill 8, Series 2020, bill for an ordinance adopting a budget and levying property taxes for the city of Cherry Hills Village for the fiscal year 2021. And I understand this is yours, Director Sager.
There I go. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Staff is pleased to present the proposed 2021 budget for second and final reading tonight. There have been 2 changes to the budget since the first reading that was held November 17th. Arapahoe County provided the city's final assessed property value, which decreased the general fund's property tax revenue by $1,333, and the Parks and Recreation property tax revenue by $1,355. Because of the 2021 workers' compensation policy increase, the general fund expenditures increased by $4,591, and the Parks and Recreation fund expenditures increased by $1,078. The proposed 2021 budget is the balanced budget with revenues and expenditures totaling $7,383,392. The ending fund balance for the general fund is projected to be just over $11 million. Based on the direction provided at the budget study session, staff will review revenue and expenditures mid-year and will provide recommendations for staff merit increases at a future meeting if appropriate. There were not any changes to the proposed capital fund since the first reading. The proposed expenditures for 2021 total $978,025, and the fund balance is projected to be $4,320,236 at the end of 2021. Aside from the decrease in property tax revenue and the adjustment for the workers' compensation policy, there have been no changes to the Parks and Recreation Fund since first reading. The proposed operating expenditures for 2021 total $2,653,724, and the fund balance is projected to be $1,285,005. There are no appropriations required for the SID number 7 bond fund. The final bond principal and interest payment was made on December 4th. The 2020 ending fund balance is approximately $9,306 and will be transferred into the general fund once the 2020 audit has been completed. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
All right, we'll go down the line then. Counselor Blum.
No questions.
Counselor Sheldon.
We do if we do an underpass under Quincy, that balance is going to go down. No questions.
Counselor Gallagher.
No questions.
Counselor Brown.
No questions. Dan, I thought you were offering to pay for that
No.
yourself.
Special district, Dan.
Exactly. Which is basically you and you.
Counselor Wheel.
No questions.
Counselor Savabi.
Questions?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
I move to approve Council Bill 8, Series 2020, a bill for an ordinance adopting a budget and levying property taxes for the city of Cherry Hills Village, Colorado for fiscal year 2021 on second and final reading.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Counselor Safavi,
Yes.
Counselor Wheel,
Yes.
Counselor Brown,
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher,
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon,
Yes.
Counselor Blum.
Yes.
Thank you all. Next, we move to agenda item 7A2, which is Council Bill 9, Series 2020, a bill for an ordinance of the city of Cherry Hills Village, Colorado, authorizing appropriations for fiscal year 2021. Second and final reading. Ms.
Do you
Sager?
want the motion or do you want to do discussion first?
Yeah, let's see if, Jessica, you have anything to say before we open up?
Sorry, I was trying to pull up the presentation. There have been no changes to the budget since the council reviewed it at the November 17th meeting, but I have a presentation if you'd like me to go through it.
We're still on Council Bill 9, not GID, right? Correct.
Correct.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought we moved into GID while I was doing that.
No. This is just for fiscally the levy, actually setting the levy, I believe.
Then no presentation for that.
Appropriations, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion then.
I move to approve Council Bill 9, Series 2020, a bill for an ordinance of the city of Cherry Hills Village, Colorado, authorizing appropriations for fiscal year 2021 on second and final reading.
Second.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Laura?
Counselor Safavi,
Yes.
Counselor Wheel,
Yes.
Counselor Brown,
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher,
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon,
Yes.
Counselor Blum.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We will now recess city council meeting and call to order the meeting of the Cherry Hills Village Charleau Park number 3 filing general improvement district board. And first item is to call to order. Laura?
Sorry, roll call. Board Member Safavi,
Here.
Board Member Wheel,
Here.
Board Member Brown,
Here?
Chair Stewart,
Here.
Board Member Gallagher,
Here.
Board Member Sheldon,
Happy to be here, Randy.
Board Member Blum.
Here.
Okay, thank you all. We have a consent agenda item 11A, which is approval of our November 17th minutes.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Laura?
Board Member Safavi,
Yes.
Board Member Wheel,
Yes.
Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Chair Stewart,
Yes.
Board Member Gallagher,
Yes.
Board Member Sheldon,
Yes.
Board Member Blum.
Yes.
Now move on to unfinished business, which is 2021 proposed budget, resolution 3 series 2020, adopting a budget and setting a mill levy and appropriate funds for 2021. And Director Sager, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening again, Chairman Stewart and members of the board. I skipped my other item and jumped right into the GID. So we'll start with there we go. Before the board this evening is the proposed 2021 budget for the Charlot Park third filing general improvement district. There have been no changes to the fund since the board reviewed the proposed changes, or I'm sorry, the proposed budget on November 17th. The mill levy for the fund will be certified at 17 mills for 2021, and the expenditures include the bond and interest payment, administrative expenses for staff time, auditing, and legal expenses. So I am happy to answer any questions the board may have at this time.
Any questions for Director Sager?
I do have a quick question. Jessica, are the expenses that you show a line item for, is the budgeted amount for those expenses adequate to reasonably accommodate for staff's time for this accounting and whatever work might be done within the city?
Yes, really the only things I have to do is wire for the interest and bond payment and create the budget. So now that the project is complete, we don't really have any additional staff time for the GID.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Director Sager? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 3, Series 2020, a resolution of the Cherry Hills Village Charlot Park Third Filing General Improvement District Board of Directors summarizing expenditures and revenues, adopting a budget, setting the mill levy, and appropriating funds for the GID for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2021 and ending on the last day of December 2021.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Laura, could you take a vote, please?
Board Member Safavi?
Yes.
Board Member Wheel?
Yes.
Board Member Brown?
Yes.
Chair Stewart?
Yes.
Board Member Gallagher?
Yes.
Board Member Sheldon?
Yes.
Board Member Blum?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. That concludes the business of the Charlot Park General Improvement District Board at 7:22. We conclude that board meeting and we will reconvene the meeting of the Cherry Hills Village City Council and go to reports. I have just a couple of quick reports for council. First, the meeting with regarding I-25 in Bellevue with the stakeholders and players, Arapahoe County, Greenwood Village, was canceled. There's still, as I understand it, negotiations going on between Denver and Greenwood Village, Arapahoe County, and CDOT regarding the SPUI and the split diamond. There's been no, we'll just have to wait and see what the results of those discussions are. Could happen in the next, we expect to have something happen the next couple of weeks, at least one way or another. As far as the Metro Mayor's Caucus, all of the meetings have been about COVID, of course, and about going from orange to red, and discussion about purple. That we're going to be in red. I think the city manager, I think it's from the governor until about December 18th or so, when they're going to reevaluate where we are. Right now, it's kind of leveling off, so it's good. It's kind of good news. Then we've had our usual discussions with the Arapahoe County and Dr. Douglas, about the COVID situation. I will say that one thing from the mayor's caucus that people were upset about was that Denver's restaurants at DIA are open for 50% capacity, while all of the restaurants in the rest of the metropolitan area are closed. So that was a sore point for the mayors. And there are mayors there is the 5-star program that's talked about. If restaurants take certain actions, they can still, get people in and, patrons in even under the red category. That's still a thing, and it's still going, but we'll see what happens. And then there's been, of course, lots of discussion about the vaccine. I understand the vaccine is coming in next week. They're going to be using it for medical care providers. They're the number one. They will be the first in line to get it. CML, just a quick update. We had a policy committee meeting for CML. That's going to be taken up by the executive board of CML on Friday. So I'll report after that. I'll probably put it in my prior article. The most interesting thing out of that is Greenwood Village has proposed that CML endorse and back some changes to the legislation that required police cameras and contacts and all of that. And so actually the policy committee of CML approved it, and they worked with Greenwood Village, worked with CML staff, and they've come forward with some proposals that they wish to introduce in the General Assembly that will you know, take care of some of the issues that really were the result of that legislation being passed so fast. I mean, it'll define they hope to define what a contact is. So whether the policeman, every time they stop somebody or every time they come in and talk to somebody about having their garage door open, is that a contact that they need to write down? I mean, these are the kind of the questions that they're saying. This is going to, you know, take much more. It takes 15 minutes to write a report about a 5-minute contact, and they're going to be spending all their time. So they hope to get some clarity on that, and more clarity on the cameras and some other issues. And that you know, we'll see, but I anticipate that's going to be supported by the CML as well. I think that's it for my. Oh, obviously our meetings. Most of our meetings with the Metro mayors, with our surrounding mayors, our mayor's lunch have been canceled. So nothing to report there. We don't anticipate we'll be meeting again until January or February. That's my report. I'll hear from reports of council members. Councilor Blum.
Oh, yeah, just a couple things. The opening brief has been filed in the Metroplex case in the DC Court of Appeals. The FAA is supposed to respond by February 5th. Whether that goes anywhere or not, nobody knows. We sort of doubt it, but at least the briefs have been filed, and I'm trying to pursue that. The second thing is, and this is really a question for Chris, has there been any further progress? Have you heard back from Zayo at all after our discussions with them?
Yeah, we're still waiting to hear from the two Zayo representatives that we talked to. I think they had some homework on their side, and yeah, we haven't heard anything. We can certainly check back in with them though.
All right, let us know if you do hear something.
Yeah.
That's it.
Councilor Sheldon.
Two quick things. First, I wanted to let everyone know that it appears that it's imminent that the Quincy undergrounding project that we authorized nearly a year ago is getting super close to finishing. I think we're going to see those houses, the electricity and fiber and all the utilities getting fired up from the underground lines soon, and then the overhead lines coming down anytime. There's so much action going on in this end of town here. So thanks to Jay and everyone who's been working on that at the city. We appreciate that. Second and last is I'm just thinking of everyone out there who is experiencing issues with COVID from within our own city and outside of the city. So hope everyone's doing well. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Gallagher.
No report.
Councilor Brown.
No report.
Councilor Wheel.
Dr. Cog, the activities centering largely around MetroVision and the foundation work for that. A lot of discussion at the work session last week about modeling and what goes into it, how it works, and what the conclusions are. Looks like there's concerns and problems around air quality improvement goals and meeting those, but more to come on that. I wanted to thank Jay. The do not block signs that have been etched into the road surface, and they look great. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wheel. Councilor Safavi.
No report.
Okay, city manager report.
Yes, good evening, council, Mr. Mayor. I do have a few things for you. We have talked quite a bit tonight about the COVID updates. I have a couple more updates on that front for you. As as the mayor mentioned, the Arapahoe County is in the red. And I think I gave council a heads up that red is not the red that we remember from, red is the new orange, which is a great show. The good news is though, our numbers are actually trending slightly, either plateauing or even improving slightly, which was is surprising some of the health officials just because of the fear about Thanksgiving. They're basically saying, hold on, just wait. We still could see the effects of that yet to come. But with that said, they're still warning everyone that we have months left ahead of us, and we need to be prepared to still continue to take safe action. I'm really glad that we as a city took action on the virtual public hearings. Tonight we had our first. So hats off to all of you. We made it. We got through. I feel like we should do a plaque or something. But it is good that we're doing this because it does seem like we're going to be in this current environment at the least for a number of months. And as a heads up, we do have likely going to have the series of Denver First Church of the Nazarene cases coming to P&Z in January and City Council in February. And, as a reminder, obviously, it's still, as we get closer, we may have some neighbors who are extremely excited about talking with council. Just reminder, it is an active case. But anyway, I'm really glad we took that action. It's going to allow the business of the city to continue to move forward while at the same time keeping everybody safe. We have had some operations impacts from this recent surge, including some cases for city employees, including in the police department. The good news is we are trending in the right direction on that front. We haven't had any new cases since I think it's November 28th. And I really want to tip my cap to the chief and the commander for the great work they've done managing the situation, managing the schedules, working with our officers and our employees on keeping chins up and looking ahead. They're doing great things in really challenging times. So they're doing great stuff. The mayor mentioned that there has been quite a bit of more discussion regarding the rollout of the vaccines. There was a call today, actually, and I know some of you weren't able to get in. There's a makeup call this Friday with the governor's office about that rollout of vaccines. I think I took one of your spots because I was able to listen to it. And there's, in essence, 3 different phases. In winter, it's going to be the healthcare workers and long-term care residents. The second phase is in the spring, and they don't have any specifics because they don't have any specifics. Second phase is in the spring. It's going to be high-risk individuals and essential workers. You all will probably have lots of questions about who qualifies as an essential worker, as do we, as did everybody on the call today. And they don't have a lot of details yet. It's more of a concept at this point, so stay tuned. And then finally, phase 3 in the summer will be most of us, the general public. So like I said, we're going to be in this for a while, and I'm really glad we have taken some of the steps we've taken in regards to both City Hall, our operations, and our public meetings at City Council. The mayor mentioned the 5-star certification program. The state's expected to rule on the 14th, whether or not they're going to allow counties to implement that. Mesa County's been doing it for a while, where in essence, individual businesses, mostly restaurants, can apply to pre-certify that they're willing to take additional steps above the minimum and then be subject to inspection to see if that's happening. And if so, then they can actually have more customers indoors. Arapahoe County is really trying to get ahead of this potential announcement on the 14th so that we are ready to go to help our businesses should that green light come. So we have been doing at a staff level quite a bit of internal coordination. The various steps are going to be handled by the different levels of government. The county will do a lot of the intake and record keeping. The cities will be responsible for inspections, and enforcement will be Tri-County. That's a gross oversimplification of a lot of little details, but that's on broad terms what it really is. I will say, I think Arapahoe County has taken the lead on this and done a great job. It's an enviable spot, and in some ways they continue to put themselves in the line of fire, but I think for good reason. And I think this is an example of how we're going to be able to, a lot of these other counties are going to be overwhelmed with the number of applications, reviews, and inspections they're going to have to do. And I think our county's doing a good job of trying to help all the cities get ready for this and to simplify this and streamline this as much as possible. Stay tuned. I'll certainly update council if we get more details on that. The last update I have for you is regarding Quincy Farm. As a reminder, we had talked about a potential survey to residents citywide. I have heard from some council members about some feedback on that effort. I look forward to input from those of you who haven't had a chance yet. I think at that point we will be able to continue to work on that and maybe send some additional information out to the council after hearing from some of the other council members. So let me know if you got any questions on that. And finally, before I turn it over to the directors for any updates they may have, this is our last council meeting of the year. I came up short compared to Councilor Wheel. I do not have a fancy festive sweater. So I will compensate for that by saying happy holidays, and I hope you and your family enjoy the season and stay safe.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to you too.
Thank you, City Manager. Just to clarify, when is our next meeting? It'd
be Tuesday, January 5th, I believe.
Yes,
it will be the 5th.
And the primary duties that night will be that's the organizational meeting. So
right, lots of oaths of office and housekeeping items,
assignments, all that kind of fun stuff.
And I assume we're going to have a quorum. We're pretty sure of that. I can't imagine people traveling.
Laura, I haven't heard of anybody missing, so.
I have not heard. So if anyone.
Great. Okay. If you're not, let us know. Otherwise, we'll have it on the 5th. Okay. Director's reports then. Directors.
I can go next.
Great. Jay?
Staff met today with the contractor on John Meade Park. We are waiting on the shipment of some materials. We hope to have those next week. The contractor knows that it's very important for us to get that project finished and the playground open. They have staff waiting by as soon as those materials are here in town. They believe it's about 3 days of work. That may happen the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Christmas. If not, it will be the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after Christmas. And we hope to get that open as soon as possible. So that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. Director Sager?
I just wanted to thank City Manager and my fellow directors, the City Attorney, Emily, for all of your assistance in putting together the budget, the mini budgets that we had to put together this year because of COVID and unusual circumstances. So I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Great job.
And do we have the chief still on?
Yep, I'm still here. So in answer to the sort of question that came up about the Highline in Quincy, I would have to probably at a study session do some research about accidents or issues at both of those locations where the canal crosses those streets. I have to tell you off the top of my head, I'm really not aware of any accidents that come to mind. I think we've probably had some complaints about people driving too fast or not taking a look left or right before they go, but we could certainly get all that information for you. With regard to the state of the PD, as the city manager told you, and I think kept all of you advised, the week before Thanksgiving and up until probably last week, we had some work to do with scheduling due to COVID issues, but I have to tell you, as I always am with this department, I'm very, very proud of the work that Sergeant Stremmel and Sergeant Parker and the commander did to make sure the schedule stayed in place. I don't think there was any citizen in the city that was deprived of any type of service whatsoever. We were able to do it with very little overtime use. And I'm just really proud of all those folks. And then the light at the end of the tunnel started with that. We got several people back to work Sunday, Monday, and it looks like we're past what I would consider some type of phase. I'm not even going to give it a number because I don't want to go through another one. And I'd also like to thank Jessica and Catherine Descharme for all the work they did with regard to, we process paperwork, what do employees need to know. I don't think there was one question that went unanswered, and I'm very grateful for that, because fielding all of those sometimes is not easy, and I'm very grateful for their work. So, and other than that, due to the fact we had some clerical staff out, you all did not get statistical data through the end of November. I don't think there was anything significant that I would report to you anyway, and it's probably better in January to get you a report on the whole year of 2019. So we'll make sure that you get that paperwork and make that happen. And on behalf of the entire police department, we wish you all a very happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. Thank you so much for your support. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief Trevino. Appreciate it.
If I could just say something real quick, Chief, just as you were talking, it occurred to me, I got an email today. You know, I know we've had a lot of mail theft issues, and I know that the postmaster deals with that. It's not really a local law enforcement thing, but we had some mail stolen, and I got an email today that the person was convicted and is incarcerated. So
excellent.
Yeah, and I believe,
Yes,
I'm not positive because we've had a couple of issues, but I believe this is the one where the person was an employee of the post office.
Okay.
And was stealing things that looked like gift cards or checks. Yeah, so I think that was this case, and it's he's evidently an El Paso County resident. But so, you know, good news that this person was caught and prosecuted successfully. So.
Oh yeah, that's excellent. And we have put out a lot of crime prevention information about this time of year, about packages and mail. Everybody just needs to be really diligent. If you're having something delivered, know that it's coming. Please get your packages picked up. And then with regard to mail thefts, of course, we still always want to know when they're going on. I mean, if you'll remember, I think about 2 years ago, we caught some mail thieves in progress and got them prosecuted. But all the reports always start with us, and then we review, and then if they need to go to the U.S. Postal Service, we certainly do that. But thank you for letting me know that. I don't think I got that notification. So thank you.
I'll forward you the email. I'm sure it's one of the times where we lived here, because we didn't have any problems with that before because our mailbox was in our house. But so I'll forward you the email just for your information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, City Attorney, any report?
I have no report. I regret I can't be there in person with you all well, it's been a long time since I've seen you guys in person. So I regret it generally, but just want to wish you all a very happy holiday. Hope you get to spend some time with your families and friends, however, in whatever forum works best. And best wishes for the new year. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. All right, unless there's anything else, I'll ask unanimous consent to adjourn.
So moved.
Hearing no objections, we are adjourned. Please have happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe. And if you're offered the vaccine, say yes. Take it.
That's not till like 2025 for me, I think.
Don't need it, at least not for a while.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye now.